So today we're doing something a little different. Usually I'm the one getting interviewed, but I have a great guest today, Laura Baum. She is the founder of Laura Botanicals, and I wanted to actually have her on my platform to share what she's doing because I really love it. And we are both really, really passionate about herbalism and growing our own food, growing our own herbs. Laura is a trained clinical herbalist. She has been doing this now for 16 years, helping people. So welcome, Laura. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. So I want to hear your story. So how did you get into herbalism? How did the founding of Laura's Botanicals and creating the programs that you're doing to help people get into herbalism and realize that really everybody can have their own little backyard garden. Everybody can get into it. So let us know.
Yes. I was very fortunate to, as a child, be allowed and be encouraged to go outside and to crawl around in my yard and to let myself stare at slugs crawling up my playground equipment and to see a grandma gardening in the backyard and to smell flowering hyacinth as it came up every year and to harvest wild cherries from the cherry tree that always made our car covered in cherry juice, but was endless sweet surprises and wild abundances and miracles from the yard. So call me the last of the millennials, but we were so regulated and so used to being outside. That's what we did before phones came along and changed everything. What a time, right? And I grew up in theater, so I was encouraged to be very expressive and malleable and flexible because when you're in theater a lot, you have to be. You're a malleable person. Theater people tend to be very flexible and oh, you need me to push a piece of prop or you need me to go on next stage and help you with a costume. It's just a sense of community to tell a story. And I grew up in that world with like 100 or so productions before the age of 16, professional auditions, always in New York, traveling on tours. I had years where I was not in public school. I had tutors. Very interesting, unique childhood. And so on that trajectory, I moved to New York City. I did grow up in the Northeast, so that was very easy for me to get to, and went to school there for theater. And somewhere along the line, within the urban sprawl, which was post 9/11 in that decade after, which I'm very glad I was there for in that healing time. Call it God. It was God who put me there, I believe, for that purpose of feeling that space when it was in that healing time. And it was right before Occupy when all this kind of tension started occurring with this new sensation of commercialism. And I started kind of getting drawn away from commercial theater and into more like social cause theater and theater for education and becoming aware that education is really where my heart wants to be and where I want to be. And I started getting this sensation while drinking coffee in this really tiny little bedroom apartment in Flatbush where my outside space was a fire escape that maybe I can move somewhere where there would be a little bit more room and more trees. And I started doing up and down, woofing up and down the eastern seaboard, and I landed in Richmond, Virginia, and I got some real good feels from there, the people, the food, the culture, the cost of living, and ended up switching apartments with a friend who got my Brooklyn apartment, and I got her apartment in Richmond, Virginia. And that's where I wanted to, set down my roots, so to speak, and began searching for education jobs and found myself face to face with the culture clash of the South versus the North, because it is a big trip. It is a huge trip culture-wise of this big city girl to a more conservative, very conservative Southern area and had some trouble getting my foot into some groups, which I've heard is totally normal when you're moving to Richmond and small culture towns like this. And I ended up in a job where I was incredibly stressed out, and my go-to was just to push through everything and to not really pay attention to myself, just to kind of push through it and get through it. And I ended up getting fired. It was not my fault, and it was very unfortunate, and I felt very uncomfortable. And we had already planned a trip to go to Athens, Georgia, and about a week later. And so we did it anyway. And on that trip, I had an anaphylactic reaction, or some type of reaction that looked like anaphylaxis. It was hours after my last meal, and it was systemic inflammation. And I ended up hospitalized on my vacation. I was out of the hospital the next day, but it was really a turning point. It changed my entire body, and it changed my outlook. I realized that the food I had been consuming was not healthy, and it changed my approach to food and my approach to lifestyle and my energy altogether. And it sent me down that road of, oh, I can pickle things in a mason jar, to all of a sudden replacing everything in my lifestyle to less toxic. And that included my mindset, and learned there was such a word as herbalism. And it really reconnected me. Working with plants reconnected me to that essence of childhood and being in that backyard garden again, making a full circle healing picture.
Beautiful. I love that. And it's amazing how then, God moved you and then gave you this experience that in the moment seemed terrible on your vacation and really changed your life, but it allowed you to really make the changes that you needed to not only find what you're passionate about, but also to start healing your body.
Yeah, there seems to be these very like abrupt chasms in my life that used to give me a lot of unease, and there's still moments of tension with those, but they end up being really important healing points in my journey, and moments of clarity that I now can lean on with pride and joy, and understanding that it's my own intuition and my own background, my ancestry, and God that's really keeping me on this track. Every lesson has these really great tools to pick up from. And I've been really fortunate to have so many varied education experiences because I've been very brave. And that comes from that theater background, just that very brave, kind of forward thinking motion of being in spaces that are a bit uncomfortable. So, like being as a behavior aid or working one to one with clients, just working with clients instead of just kind of being a fly on the wall and letting other people take action. There was one sort of situation where the teacher had cancer and she had to unexpectedly go to her appointment. And I just stepped in and taught the class. And I wasn't a teacher, I wasn't licensed. The district let me do it. And I did it for an entire week because I was so good at just kind of filling in and knowing what was needed to be done, and really fast on my feet and able to continue the service so that people could get the education they needed and to have the normalcy that they needed to thrive. Um, and that being said, I have so many tools for parents and for families. And it's like, it's just shifted into this deep understanding that the essence of the work is connecting in your backyard and connecting to nature again and doing it from as early an age as possible, because a lot of parents, I think, might think they're getting a lot of that value built in their daily school system, but they're really not. A lot of the emphasis is on other things. And that's just because we're moving in this more commercialized direction. And instead, we have to kind of really do a lot more work on our own to emphasize being in a wild space, nervous system regulation, and herbology to tap into our own innate abilities to heal ourselves and to manage our own health effectively.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we both have that passion for being in the garden. And it is recognizing that, in school, you're not really learning tools that you need to be successful. And we think, oh, well, it's all about career and, making money. But in all reality, we need to get back to our roots. We need to start learning how to grow our own food, learning how to grow our own remedies, because those might not be available at some time. And it's really, I know we talk about this a lot, like the quality of food that you're getting at the grocery store is not what it used to be. And um, having the ability to be self-sufficient is so important. And so many people think it's it's so huge, such a big task. You can't do it. You need all this space. And that's what I love about your programs is that you're teaching people that everybody can do it. So tell me about, the programs that you have right now.
Right. So we offer this basic monthly membership called Everyday Herbalism, and we're just intending to create a space that provides solutions from what we've been hearing people having struggles with, mainly around cost burden and a lack of follow-up from practitioners, or for practitioners, their inability to follow up because they're so maxed out on having to see the same patients for the same issues time and time again. So a lot of the medical professionals have that issue, and so do a lot of holistic health practitioners like chiropractors, massage therapists, where they're happy to kind of continue working on that same client with that same issue, like that same, for a chiropractor, that same adjustment they need to keep doing. But at the same token, I feel like there is that level of responsibility that maybe the client should and be able to take on to actually see their own healing take place. And it doesn't have to be with very big complications. It's just looking at your existing plan, your existing work, and just making it better and having a space where you can continue to listen to other practitioners and hear from each other. So we just give basic foundational knowledge. And what we've been told recently is that it's been very helpful for them to actually get the lifestyle going, to really start using herbs with confidence, and to have the required mindset to actually begin the process of tapping into herbs more regularly. And so the program is definitely for people who are already using natural solutions for health, or are interested in it, and or they want to be a local resource for other people because they want to, again, have better control of their food and better control of their health plan going forward, which, as you know, with functional medicine is truly more preventative, or overarching larger picture than what they're getting in the regular medical system.
Yeah, totally. And, I know for a lot of people that want to go deeper, you do have your 7-day Become a Herbalist program. Tell me about that because, we need more people being knowledgeable in this. It's not just going to Amazon and ordering supplements. We wanna have a bit more of a foundation there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are, they're finding out things from like TikTok or a basic video or a Google search. And we're just trying to redirect that Google traffic or that search engine traffic to actual human to human conversation. So not AI articles, which are really bad, or they're not complete, or they're not relevant. And, customized work and really doing it in a way that makes them understand how they can take that plan moving forward. And also, just kind of keeping it human interactive, kind of keeping them motivated to stay on the journey and not fall off the horse. I have had a lot of customers or people who come back to me year after year and they're like, oh, I haven't done that. And they never invested deeply because we weren't doing it yet. And it's a struggle for them to, they see me, they're like, oh yeah, I do need to do that. And it's like, how do we help them prioritize that time for their wellness and actually make time for themselves? Because that's truly what we need to be doing is reminding them that they can increase their capacity for their own self-healing and their own knowledge for themselves and others.
Yeah, I love that. And it is scary how many people right now are thinking that AI is where they can go for their treatment. People will stick their genes into AI, they will, stick their symptoms into AI, and it's scary. It really is scary that they think that that is going to give them the answers. Like when we're looking at things, the complexity that we're looking at, you need a human to see the entire picture. And I think it's AI is a great tool for certain things. I personally don't really use it, but besides Google searches, because that's kind of just how it goes. You type something in Google and AI pops up. But when it comes to your health, when it comes to looking at herbs or symptoms or lab work, people can see the bigger picture. And it's definitely a scary thing.
There's certain things that are just so necessary for us to go forward with. I mean, we do need to have more regenerative agriculture. And with all of these new systems that are more ecological, there are some consequences, like, and some questions, like how are they going to be able to mass produce enough food for people, things like that. These are the kinds of problems that we can solve. And I mean, I created my original community, Richmond Herbalism Guild, out of a need for it because there was no bioregional network of people talking about herbal plants or plants in our area. Everything was coming from abroad or from far away. And the truth is, we've seen from the pandemic, people need our neighbors. We need to be connected with each other and to be able to rely on ourselves. It's not that we don't believe in these other people, overarching systems to help us, to tell us what to do with our bodies or to recommend what we think they should do with our bodies, but ultimately it's our choices. And so when we have more power in that, then we're going to be better off and able to have actual conversations with those systems instead of it being so much about reliance. And I think people don't actually realize, I talked to another herbalist last week on my interview podcast, and she was like, there was a time very recently where we were more like that, and it's interesting that we're so detached from that reality that we give all of our power away. I had that meme where it's like, we never question a drug, a pharmaceutical prescription, but then someone mentions that turmeric needs to be researched. We're all researchers, right? Like we're all going so deep into why it's so good for us. And that doesn't make any sense. And it just shows that power struggle. Whereas other countries, that's never lost their norm. And to be honest, there are pockets of this country where there are still your good old country herbalists just down the road. And I know a few of them.
Yeah, for sure. And here too, there is such a huge movement of people wanting to grow their own food, wanting to have a lot of medicinal herbs growing on their property. Like for me, it is a huge goal of mine to continue to grow different herbs that I can just walk out into my backyard. And, I live in Florida, so pretty well all year, I can walk out into my backyard and be like, oh, look at,
Yes, you can.
right? With
Yes.
our four growing seasons. But
Mhm.
it's so amazing that you're helping inspire this movement, because if we each in every community had people growing their own food, growing their own remedies, we could become very unreliant on the system very quickly. And like you said, during COVID, we learned very quickly that things could collapse. They almost did. We lost access to a lot of things. And if more and more people are getting interested in it and have resources like yourself to start to learn to grow, you
Exactly.
know,
Yeah, just the basic foundations. And that's our event. We just focus on the mindset because mindset's crucial, which you do as well heavily in your book and in your programs. Mindset has been like everything, just the vision piece. And that, again, that awareness of, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe I do need to organize some time and prioritize some time for myself. Maybe I do need to think about what I actually want to accomplish with my health. And when you're just supplementing without any plan, you can be taking the wrong supplements, you can be taking all the wrong things. So the guidance, I never wanted my program to be just me. So we have our practitioners inside, including yourself, just as direct soundboarding to be able to connect people quickly to actual human answers around their particular specific concerns. I mean, you wouldn't go out in your garden and just say, oh, I think I need to just put a bunch of compost down and not knowing what kind of compost it is or what's in it, because it might not be exactly what your plants actually need, what the soil needs to make it healthy. You have to do your research. You have to have a plan. There just has to be some kind of actual vision in place as well to support the goals that you're trying to hit. And then we cover just, our foundations are just the garden, the herbal workspace, which is your apothecary, like the space where you hold your research, your writing, and your herbs themselves, and then how to actually, blend and formulate effectively, because it's not just using one herb. It's like, how do you make these herbs actually talk to one another and work best in the body?
yeah, and that is such vital knowledge. It's knowledge that we've lost incredibly quickly. This is knowledge, 100, 200 years ago that we knew how to survive. And for the most part, if we lost access to the grocery store, the majority of us would die because we have no idea how to grow food. We have no idea how to enrich soil. We have no idea how to, grow any herbs to help us if we have any health issues. And I think you touched upon the mindset of it being so vital, because so many people, we've been conditioned that we don't have time to grow our own food. We don't have time to bake our own bread. We don't have time for any of this. And it is a mindset block. And for me, it was a block for many years to start my garden and to start growing things. So, how are you working in the program to really help people overcome that?
Well, people really want to change their health if they think they really have to. With me with the anaphylaxis, it was like, well, I have no greater time than now to figure out what the heck happened here. And when it comes to organization, we have different foundational regimens that we help teach our clients immediately to be able to reclaim some of that time back, get some of the power back, and also begin to recognize their own body and the patterns in their body when it's becoming their nervous system's becoming dysregulated, or they're in a bit of an overloaded state. And figuring out how that mental health picture also fits into the overall health picture. So, you know, basic body literacy stuff start tapping into so that you can have your own tools in your own body to be able to support your own overall health, and figuring out what is exactly in your control to be able to support and nourish, and then back it up with really good regimens in research and formulation. So we strengthen their abilities to do their own research the right way, and advocate and support resilience in their communities with excellent partnerships, and connecting directly to growers.
Yeah, I love that. And so many people don't recognize that there is a really big movement. There are other people around them doing this already or trying to do it. And when we get together and we start creating these villages, even if they're not, our neighbors or directly, right directly close to us, when we start to create this village of everybody working together, strengthening each other, sharing the common goals of growing our own food, growing our own medicine, it's really life changing.
Yeah, we're all growing. We're all on our own path, and there's nothing competitive about it. It's a sense of cooperation, and that's what nature teaches us too. I mean, when a tree gets sick or is threatened, it will cut off its own nourishment to supply the nourishment to the other trees. I mean, it's a sense of understanding the long-term goal and the sense that we're all on this purpose to unify and to share resources. So it's taking that information, and it's also prioritizing it and taking action.
And the action is big because when you are in that village and you see other people starting to take action, and it's going to motivate you to take action. Because I know for me, we moved to this property, we have 5 acres, and it took me almost 2 years to take action and start my garden. And when you have a mentor, when you have other people that are there supporting that action, it starts to snowball. It's like you start your garden and then all of a sudden you've got 130 fruit trees. Or I'm just crazy, right? But it's the importance of the community. And that's why I love everything that you're doing. And I'm so thankful that you came on and you shared what you're doing. So where can people find you? Besides, it's going to be in our links. But share your website where people can connect.
Yeah, so our website is I mean, our main customer and who we really like focus on putting our business in front of our other holistic health practitioners who have established practices and aren't yet, doing herbalism, or because I've gotten lots of invites over the years to do herbal workshops, and this is kind of that connecting to that this is a way to offer that without them having to do much work, because that was kind of the hard part, was always like planning, when are we going to do the workshop? And I can't actually do that because they're so busy with their practice. But yeah, they do have this goal of like, being a bit more integrative or having some type of extra thing for their clients without necessarily wholesaling the herbs themselves or hiring a practitioner. So that information is on our website, laurabotanicals.com. And then we did include our registration page to get on the wait list for our next live herbalism event, the, 5-day Become an Herbalist event. And that's something we do on a cyclical basis all year round. And that's a great event, again, to show up and just be there to listen in and take some action and get our outline of what this process is and what the foundations are to being able to start herbalism consistently. And I think those are the two resources that we share, besides maybe like how to reach out on LinkedIn or Instagram and follow us and see our visual journey and some of the things that we're up to.
Perfect. I love it. So one piece of advice that you can leave everybody with that they can start, besides going and signing up for that next live event, but besides that, what else can people do to just start to take action and move into this more holistic living and growing their own food and tuning into their bodies?
Yeah, that's a great question. If people are going outside already and are tapping into nature, just go into like a local like herbal store or a food co-op and just look for a minute at the different variety of things that are available. You are going to see so many things and just like let yourself be absorbed in that greatness because there really is quite a big world to tap into. And it can be daunting and overwhelming, but we can help break that down then. But just to see there are options that are available. I know that like different herbal tastes can really be gateways to it. They can be really transformative in your outlook on what's possible as well. And it can take time though. I've had clients who I've worked with who it was like weeks or months even until they finally were like, you know what, let me give it a try. And then it worked. And then it's like they're a believer. So tasting the herbs is such a great recommendation. Just get a really delicious herbal drink or something and just see and feel the difference in your body and the nourishment that it might be able to provide for you.
Beautiful. All right, thank you so much again for coming on, and I'm so grateful to share everything that you're doing with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandy. I'm grateful for you as well.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Thanks.